Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well, and of course Arnie does too. In all the continents around the world there are plenty of animals with strange body parts. These body parts can help them catch their prey, avoid predators, and even get around their natural habitat. In this video I will be highlighting some of the animals with strange adaptations, as I'll be going through 5 animals with strange body parts. And for our first species we'll be heading off to South America, as we have the maned wolf. In the wild this species can be found in semi-open areas, and is most often associated with grasslands. The maned wolf is the largest canine in South America, and is also one of the most unique canines in the world. Although this canine may look like a fox, it is not closely related to them. It's thought that its closest relative was the Falkland Island wolf, but unfortunately this species went extinct in 1876. Its closest living relative is thought to be the very strange looking bush dog, but as you can see these canines don't look very similar at all. As you've probably guessed already, this animal's strange body parts are its long legs. These long legs almost make it look like a fox on stilts, and at around 90 centimeters tall at the shoulder, this species is the tallest wild member of the canine family. Despite being very leggy, it is nowhere near the heaviest canine, as the grey wolf weighs over 3 times as much. It's thought that the maned wolf's legs evolved due to its habitat preference, as they're usually found in open grasslands. It's theorised that their legs evolved to help them see above the tall grasses. This added height could help them catch their prey, which is usually small mammals, birds and fish, but it's thought that more than 50% of its diet is made up of vegetable matter. If you find yourself looking for a maned wolf in South America, you're likely to hear it before you see it. This is because the maned wolf can create a booming guttural sound, which is often called a roar bark. As maned wolves are mostly solitary, these roar barks are used to communicate with each other over long distances, and when distressed they will produce a low growl. If you happen to come across a distressed maned wolf, you will also see the reason behind its name, as its thick mane hairs stand erect, making the animal appear much larger than it is. If having strangely long legs wasn't weird enough, the maned wolf also has very strange urine. It's very pungent to help them mark their territory, but is also said to smell like marijuana. In fact, police were once summoned to the Rotterdam Zoo, as visitors thought there was someone smoking marijuana in the facility. To the surprise of many, their culprit turned out to be a maned wolf who was quite innocently taking a pee. So our first strange body part belongs to the tallest canine in the world. But for our next species we'll be heading to North America, as we have the American Coot. American Coots are found near most freshwater ecosystems, but are known to temporarily live in saltwater environments during the winter months. Although the American Coot is distantly related to ducks, they're actually a member of the rail family, along with moorhens and the takahe. In their wetland habitats, they can often be found both on the land and in the water. They tend to scavenge and forage on land, and are known for being great divers in the water. They mainly feed on aquatic vegetation, especially algae, but will also eat small crustaceans and fish. On this diet they reach a maximum size of around 45 centimeters, and although this size keeps them safe from some smaller predators, they do have to look out for birds of prey, as well as mammals. If you view the American Coot in the water, it may look like any other water bird, but when it steps foot on land, you'll get to see its very strange feet. These feet look like they belong on a much larger bird, but are actually perfectly suited for their lifestyle. Unlike ducks, they do not have webbed feet, but instead they are lobed. The stiff flaps on their feet help them swim through the water, and also help to spread out their weight on land. This means, like many other members of its family, it can walk on lily pads and vegetation, and this means that they can transition from water to land very easily. So although the American Coot may look like many other water birds, they do have some very strange feet. But for our next species we'll be heading over to Madagascar, as we have the aye-aye. The aye-aye primarily lives on the east coast of Madagascar and is most commonly found in rainforests. There's no getting away from the fact that the aye-aye is not a very pretty species, and if you aren't a fan of its looks, don't worry, as it's a nocturnal species and they are rarely seen. Although it may not look like any other members of its family, the aye-aye is actually a lemur. Despite this classification, researchers once thought they were rodents, as they have many traits similar to other rodents, such as incisor teeth that never stop growing. As some of you may already know, the aye-aye's strange body parts are its hands. These hands have very long, thin fingers, making their hands almost look like a spider. Its very long, thin middle digits actually help them locate and catch their food. They normally tap them against dead wood or trees, and by listening to the echo, they can locate insects and grubs within the tree. This form of echolocation is very unique, and once they've located their prey, they use their long, thin digits to hook them. Now, if being the ugliest lemur in the world wasn't enough to deal with, aye-ayes also face problems with the people of Madagascar. They're often viewed as a harbinger of evil, and are often killed on sight. It's believed that if one points its narrowest finger at someone, they are now marked for death. Some say that the appearance of an eye in a village predicts the death of a villager, and the only way to prevent this is to kill it. This killing, along with destruction of their habitat, has led to them being listed as endangered. But unfortunately, it's not only humans that the eyes have to deal with, as birds of prey are known to target them, as well as the largest mammalian carnivore on Madagascar, the fossa. There are ongoing conservation efforts, and there are also captive breeding programs in both the UK and the US, so hopefully in the future we'll get to see more eyes in the wild. But this very strange lemur has to have some of the strangest fingers in the world. But for our next species, we'll be heading off to East Africa, as we have the Garanouk. This strange antelope is normally found in semi-arid bushland, as well as dry deserts. These environments are often very unforgiving, and you have to be a very tough animal to live here. Luckily, the Garanouk is very well adapted to these environments, as they very rarely drink water, and get almost all their water from the plants that they eat. Now, it's not hard to tell what makes this antelope stand out from the crowd. It has a very long neck that supports a very small head. This has given it the nickname of the Dwarf gazelle, and despite not being very closely related, they do share very similar behaviours. Most other antelope species eat by grazing, but the Garanouk often stands on its two hind legs, and this gives it the opportunity to browse from tree branches. When they stand on their hind legs like this, they can reach plants up to 2 meters high, meaning that they can access food many other antelopes can't. If their long necks weren't weird enough, the Garanouk also has very strange glands on its face. These glands rub up against trees when they're feeding, and operate as a scent marking system to communicate with other members of its species, and this antelope's long neck definitely helps it stand out from the crowd. But for our next species, we'll be staying in Africa, as we have the African Jakarta. These water birds mainly inhabit freshwater wetlands and are perfectly adapted to survive in these environments. Like the American Coot, these birds also have very large feet, and this gives them the ability to walk on floating vegetation, and this has given them the nickname of lily trotters or Jesus birds, as it often looks like they're walking on water. Walking on lily pads gives them a good view of their prey, which is normally aquatic insects, worms, snails and other arthropods. The waters they're found in are seldom safe, as predators such as crocodiles are always on the prowl for these birds, meaning that they can never let their guard down. Now, the reason behind this bird's inclusion in this video all stems from one image. In this image, it appears to have 6 legs, and when I first viewed it, I thought it was photoshopped or was some kind of genetic mutation. In fact, the reasoning is much simpler than this, and centers around their breeding strategy. When it comes time to breed, a female will mate with multiple males, and then the males will care for their chicks alone. These chicks have very large feet like their parents, but are much more vulnerable. When met with a threat, these chicks will often dive underwater, with just their bills sticking out above the surface. These chicks are also very lucky that they have very good fathers, as when these chicks are in trouble, the male will tuck them under each wing and transport them to safety. This is why there is an illusion that males have 6 legs, and although I kind of cheated on this last one, I think it's a very interesting story nonetheless. But that's about it for this video. If you have any other suggestions for other videos, then let me know down in the comments below. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. But until next time, goodbye.